Hello, hello. Welcome to the dev stream. We're going to be working on our Witch Academy RPG where the magic of the world is music called Songs of Glimmerwick today, as we are every day, every dev stream. So I'm going to get started with a little bit of a Trello card. Clarification, a bug I reported. First, I'll go ahead and check the work that has been done, see where we're at. Sure the chat is working, seems all right. Good, very good. Okay. Exit out of a few. Why don't I just exit out of all these? Close all. Out of all these. Go ahead and reload all my scenes. And then I'll go over to the spot in question and see it's a dive bubble issue. Okay. Alpha, hello. Yeah, I started very late today. 6:45 a.m., which is the middle of my, or kind of closer to the end of my day, actually, on the weirdest schedule ever. I'll be normal soon. Okay, so I'm gonna try out this dive bubble. Let's make sure we're in developer start settings. Developer start settings. And then I'm gonna go try diving in the dive bubble and see if we get the bug. And if we do get the bug, then I will take a screenshot of it. Screenshot of where we're getting it. Oh, this is interesting. The dive bubble, I thought there was one there, but then it seems to have disappeared. Oh yeah, seems to be fixed. Okay, cool. Yeah, Jenny must have fixed it. This is so weird. I could have sworn there were more dive bubbles in this area. I mean, they could be populating like a different set of them every day. Let's go next day. Oops, we got some letters to open. I don't see the dive bubble. That's strange. I wonder why it just sort of vanished. So weird. Saw it right here. I'm gonna exit out. A long time to exit out of the game right now. So there's a dive bubble right there. Right in front of the player. And it seems to be in the right spot. But I wonder if there's just some sort of like probability thing here. Probability of showing. These all, so this one actually has a probability of 1. Dive bubble lake. So all these lake dive bubbles, I think they have lower probability. I don't really see the point in that. Seems to me that the dive bubbles in the lake ought to just have, you know, pretty high probabilities. 0.5 doesn't seem, I mean, I guess it's not too bad if we just want to make a lot of them, maybe that could be okay. Like really increase their count here. And some days you'll just hit the mother load, and other days it'll be a little bit more scant. That's fine. I just duplicated a few of them. I'll go ahead and save exterior world. Hello, Terrace. Teresa, probably. That makes a lot more sense. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's check these dive bubbles again. Should see more of them. Okay, at least we see one right here. Okay, perfect. It looks like the bug has been fixed. Hooray! Awesome. All right, we did have an issue, a bug with the trying to find, I think it was like mermaid's thread or some kind of item that we were having an issue with finding. And then Jenny pointed out that some of the dive bubbles aren't yielding that item. Jacqueline was looking forever. She spent like an hour looking for it. I don't remember the name of the item. Let's see, what is this card? Bounce. Okay, well. All right, we'll have to look at that later. I just don't remember the name of the item, unfortunately. I think it was in Jenny's list. Man. Yeah, I think I'll have to know the name of the item in order to fix this bug. Rare. I'll look for the word rare. It's so annoying how Trello, when you page search, you it doesn't, it highlights it and then it somehow moves it off the screen. Very annoying. I could have sworn it was mermaid's thread or something. Oh, let's see. Okay. Still no luck finding water of the deep. There we go. Okay. This has got to be the card. All right. We have different locations giving you different things. Looking at the videos, Jacqueline went diving in Town Lake, in the Ochre Lake, and by Mel's, but none of those give you water of the deep. It's the ones off the starting beach that give it. Okay. There it's already much more common than anything else. So that is really unclear. It's really unclear for the player that different dive bubbles give them different things, different locations of dive bubble. That just makes no sense. If anything, it should at the very least be lakes and rivers versus ocean. So let's take a look at where the data rewards. So there's dive reward data. There's lake dive rewards. And there's ocean dive rewards. So what I want to do, and this should be every dive bubble in the whole game, right? I just want to make sure that we're not using any. I just want to reduce the dive rewards to just 2 categories: lake dive rewards and ocean dive rewards. I am a very gamer. Hello, welcome. Long live the Unity Foundation Company. What does that, what is the Unity Foundation Company? And hey, Alsen, welcome. Welcome, welcome. All right, so just flipping through these, I just want to check out, well, first let's do kind of a sanity check. I'm going to right click on Lake Dive Rewards and I'm going to go find references in project. And let's just check it out. So we see there's one in exterior world. Why is lighting data being, oh, because lighting data references exterior world. I don't really know. That's weird. Anyway, if we remove all the references to one of these, I just want to make absolutely certain. So I'm going to make another piece of data here. And we'll just call it like super tester dive rewards. And then I'm going to right click on this and find references in project. By the way, finding references in project actually doesn't ship with Unity. It is a custom little plugin that I have, which is extraordinarily useful. So there we go. So I'm refreshing the data, and let's just see if it actually finds a reference. I just want to make sure that it doesn't, and then we can know that we shouldn't find any references. Ah, okay, perfect. We have no references. That's great. We just want to make sure that we remove all the references to ocean dive rewards near Mel and just do the ocean dive rewards. So that's the first step. Actually, you know what? I'll check if exterior world is currently in use. It is in use. So that was stupid of me. Probably in use by Jenny. So I'm going to go ahead and revert it. I'm not going to step on her toes again here. I always do this. I don't check. I make a change. Always my fault. I'm dumb. Okay, there we go. Just revert that, and that's fine, and we'll deal with that later. But first, I just want to make sure that the lake rewards and the ocean rewards are the only rewards that remain. So I'll go ahead and add a new card for myself and just say reduce all dive rewards to just 2 datas, lake and ocean. And then as an extra note, also add a few more dive bubbles in Ochre Lake. Very good. So we'll do the first part of that right now. We'll just make sure that we have a unified sort of list of the dive rewards. I am a very gamer asks, is it your game or an asset pack? No, this is all ours. No asset packs here. Shh, asset. No. This is our game. It's called Songs of Glimmerwick. It's myself, my wife, who does all the art and most of the writing and all the illustrations and stuff, and one other full-time programmer, Jenny from England. And we've been working on this game for 6 years. 6 years we've been working on this game full-time. Ticket story point is to be 3 hours. I don't quite know what that means. I think something might be lost in translation there. Maybe ticket story point is a game. The water shader looks cool. Is it custom also? Yes, it is. Hello, SimD, by the way. Yeah, it's a custom shader. So looking at the ocean dive rewards, here we go. So I just want to make sure that the lake dive rewards, there's really only 3 things in the lake dive rewards. Mel's has a list of 7, and ocean dive rewards has a list of 6. So I just want to make sure that we have all of the things in the ocean dive rewards. So the one near Mel, I see has Water of the Deep. And it looks like Ocean Dive Rewards does not, Ocean Dive Rewards, which one is the one? Seaweed, I think. It looks like it doesn't have seaweed. So let's just make sure it has seaweed. So check it out, add another element, and make sure we've got seaweed on there. Seaweed. And we'll just change it to 1, right? Mel's Dive Rewards. We got seaweed 1. Yes, perfect. Let me go check that out. SimD X3, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate that very much. I'm a very gamer says, that's longer than I started game dev myself. I have been doing game dev a long time. I personally have been doing it for 15 years. I used to work in AAA. And then in, I think, 2012, I quit my job to make a game called Eastshade, which is an open world adventure game where you play as a traveling artist. Let me see if the MooBot still works. If anyone wants to check out our last game, Eastshade. And let's see, the MooBot is going to work with that. Might not. Like it's gonna. So I just linked to our new game, Songs of Glimmerwick, the Steam page. If anyone wants to check that out, see if it's their cup of tea, and maybe give us a list if it seems like something you'd like. The progress is very good. We're pretty close here. We're almost done. Almost done. Like 80% done, maybe 85, something like that. Yeah, the game's over 30 hours already, and we were already in a closed beta, and we're getting really good feedback. We're getting there, light at the end of the tunnel. This game just popped up into my head again. I'm sure it will be worth a long way. Okay, awesome. And welcome, by the way, Leo. Well, thank you. I'm glad you dig the stream, and I appreciate you dropping by. And you know what? Don't know anything about game design? That's my favorite. I love talking to people who are, just love games and are just a fan of the kinds of games we make. Really great. So I'm glad there's still something here in the stream, even for folks who aren't necessarily game developers. Makes me very happy. Deck Attacks, thank you for playing Eastshade. I really appreciate that. GTA 6 delayed again. Yeah. I've never played any of the GTAs myself. I like that GTA 6 got delayed because my demo is scheduled to come out in May 2026 as my university hosts a Game Fest at that time. That's awesome. It doesn't seem like big releases have any sort of relationship with sort of hogging the coverage or anything like that. Like Chris Sikowski, my favorite Steam marketing blogger, did a whole write-up on it. You might be able to dig it up if you Google it, but it doesn't seem like big releases get in the way of smaller releases in any way, shape, or form. So it really doesn't matter when GTA comes out in comparison to your own demo. So just looking at so we've got 7. We have Seaweed, Bane of Bard. Let me just make sure those are both Seaweed, Bane of Bard. We've got Grizzled Seaweed and Mermaid's Thread. Let's check this. We've got Grizzled Seaweed and Mermaid's Thread. We've got Plaited Kelp and Salt Pile. I don't see Plaited Kelp. Plaited Kelp. And then going over here, we have Sea Star. We also have Sea Star here. I just want to make sure we have all of the things in the ocean. Oh, there's also Seaflower Ocean Dive rewards. Yeah, I don't think we should have all of those. I think we should just make sure we have everything. So Seaweed, we definitely have Seaweed, right? We added it, Seaweed. Bane of Bard, we definitely have Bane of Bard, Bane of Bard. Grizzled Seaweed, Grizzled Seaweed. Mermaid's Thread, Mermaid's Thread. This one is Plaited Kelp. We have Plaited Kelp. Salt Pile, we definitely have Salt Pile, same probability too. We have Sea Star, and I don't see Sea Star in here. Oh yeah, it is. It's right here, Sea Star. So now we just need the Seaflower one, which seems to have a few more. It looks like Seafloor Sand is in there. So let me just make sure Seafloor Sand is always available. Seafloor Sand. And that's an array size of 9. It's so hard. I just want to make absolutely certain that all of these things that we have. Sea toes are in the Seaflower rewards. Actually, let me just check if the Seaflower rewards are even being used. They are being used in Exterior World. So we definitely have them being used somewhere. It looks like. So Ocean Dive rewards, I think, right? Yeah. A chat real quick. Remember when GTA 5 came out, everyone wanted to play it, even people who played only on phones and never played games. Yeah. Yeah, when a game breaks into the mainstream that hard, pretty crazy. Yeah. Could be. Probably not 5x, but maybe a little bit. All right, rock on. Thank you. I am a very gamer. Appreciate that. Thanks for dropping by the stream. Let me check if looks like CTOs. Let me find references in project. So CTOs are used by actually, they're sold at the Seaflower Festival, but it doesn't look like CTOs are in use in any item datas. And let me, as a sort of sanity check, let's go back to our Trello and just make sure we've got gosh, where is that one card that I was just looking at? Why is it not up? Why is it not up? Oh, Summer Day 10. Still no luck finding Water of the Deep. So the Water of the Deep, I know Water of the Deep is being used by a potion. So let me go find in project. Here we go, Water of the Deep. Okay, Potion of Healing. This is great because now I can see exactly. I can make sure that everything is being used here because CTOs are not used by anything. I say we remove them from the game, which we will do merely by consolidating to these two datas. So Ocean Dive Rewards will not include CTOs. Now, what about Mermaid's Thread? Is that in here? Yep, Mermaid's Thread. Definitely Salt Pile and Sea Star. I think that's everything. And we have Water of the Deep now in the Ocean Rewards as well. That's good. Hello, Jake ZSR. Welcome, welcome. So just to make this a little bit, well, we'll delete this one. We don't need that one anymore. And I can't really change anything right now in exterior world, but I will. I have the card. So that should be everything. Let's take a look. Sea Star, definitely Sea Star is in the list, right? Yep. Now, so there's also the lake ones. Seafloor Ocean Dive Rewards we should have covered. Seaweed, Water of the Deep, Bane of Bard. Sea Star, Salt Paw, yep, I think that's everything. Cool, okay. Yep. So that's the first part of consolidating. I'll make a change here, or a change list description. Consolidating dive rewards into just two datas. Ocean and lake. Save. Gorgeous. Lovely. And then once I get that done, actually I'll type this. I'm consolidating. Great work looking into this. I have consolidated all dive rewards, just two datas, ocean and lake, to keep it more understandable to the player. I still haven't gone through change all the references. Exterior world is checked out. So, and use find in project to ensure only 2 datas are in use. All right, perfect. So that's done. Put that in the done list. Oh, let me scroll up to the top here. Perfect. Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to do was continue working on the Dark Forest 2 collision walls. It's very tedious, but has to be done. It's pretty chill. Pretty chill work. Great work for streaming. So I'll go ahead and make sure I'm in developer start settings. And then I'll set the entry to, I think, Dark Forest 2. Yeah, is what we're working on. Go glorious. And let's go ahead and check out Dark Forest 2. Check out Dark Forest 2, and then also turn on Dark Forest 2 in the main view here so we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, and let's check out the walls. Should be at the bottom. Here we go, walls. So just turning on the mesh render, I can see the walls. The easiest way to modify them is right here. Yeah, one thing I wanted to check out. It is a little strange that we can't walk into the water at all. But you know what? It's going to be, I think it's for the best because we got these lily pads. It'd be kind of weird for the player to just walk through the lily pads. But it is a little inconsistent because most of the time the player can wade into the water, at least a little bit. I don't know. A hard call. I just don't think there's a great reason to let the player wade into the water. But we could wade into the water just literally on the last map, so maybe we should let players do it. It's so hard. It is so darn hard to make these decisions. Maybe just a really tiny bit. Maybe that'll be the most consistent. Then we've got to do all the water markup. I'm just going to look at what is the markup on here like. Here we go. We've got the terrain. Okay, so the terrain is a mesh. It's just a mesh. And it's using a 1-1 collision. So it's literally using the actual render mesh here. So I very much imagine my intention was to let the player walk into the water. So let's, first things first, let's get that thing separated. Yep, let's get it separated. So let's crack open Dark Forest 2. And we need to separate the water mesh from the terrain mesh. So that probably is going to be in Dark Forest. Let's open up our Blender file. Got Dark Forest terrain. It looks like I don't see a Dark Forest 2, so I'm going to guess that Dark Forest 2 is in the terrain, or in the Dark Forest terrain file. I'm going to call this Dark Forest collision work. This is oops, wrong one. Okay, so Dark Forest, let's crack that one open. And let's see what we're working with here. So here is both our Dark Forest meshes. Do cone. I'm going to check out. Yeah, I was going to say I want to look at what's happening in Dark Forest 1, but maybe that's not necessary. What is going on here? So let me move this. All right. So we've got two sort of meshes here. I'm guessing one was just a working file. I'm guessing this is the only one that's really relevant. And we have all the water built into it. So I'm going to convert this to a cube. This dummy object, this just marks my, I have a custom exporter, and that just tells it that I want it to export. So dark forest terrain 2, LD0, dark forest terrain 2. Funny, all the meshes in Songs of Glimmerwick have an LD0 sort of suffix on them. And that's actually left over from eShade. I just got so into the habit of putting _LD than the LOD level. I didn't do LOD because if you do LOD, Unity gets its grubby little mitts on it and tries to like auto set it up, and it auto sets it up in a way I don't want. So I did LD instead of LOD, but now we don't even have any LODs in Glimmerwick, but I still put LD on all of the render meshes. It's kind of helpful because you can see exactly which meshes are like actual render meshes that have been authored. So I'm gonna grab the terrain here. Okay, so I checked it out, and I'm just gonna duplicate this dummy object and shrink it a little bit, and then we'll just do dark forest terrain water. And I'll just make sure that all the planes that are the water are parented to that. So let me just lift all that stuff. Sure that that's all the water right there. It's pretty simple. I'm going to parent it to that new render mesh and then save, and then I'm going to export, and all the water should disappear. Okay, all the water is gone. All the lakes have been drained. And now I'm going to click on that render mesh, and let's add that new water. There, now we've separated the meshes. Now we ought to be able to just walk into the water, which is the first step. So I'll save the prefab, and then let's carry on with the next step. So let's go into the Dark Forest 1 interior prefab, and I'm just going to copy all the markup. Copy all the markup from there on how to do the water, because I never remember exactly. There's just a lot of markup to it. So here is the swamp water. It has a box collider on it, and it's on the water layer. Is there any other markup? That can't be it. That's way too simple. Got to be more than that. Let me just turn this off. See anything else? Let me just click on swamp. I don't see any other water markup. Can't be that simple, can it? That's too simple. I don't accept. Doesn't seem like there's anything else. Okay, well, I'll add a box collider with the water and then put it on the water layer, and we'll see what we get. So let's crack open Dark Forest 2. I don't save that because I didn't do anything. And then let's go ahead and click on the water. I'm going to add that box collider to it. Lovely. And it's absolutely massive. It is so huge. I just want to make sure that the top of that collision just lines up right with the mesh. It looks like it already does. I don't know how it's doing that. Oh, it's because this vert is pushed down a little bit. So that's what's giving it the thickness. Well, that seems like the perfect mesh already. So now I'm just going to give it that water material. And then I'm also just going to make sure I've got it set to be on the water physics layer. And I'll go ahead and save that. Good afternoon, Chrissy's Chilled Gaming. It's been a while since I caught the stream. Well, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. I am having a good Friday night. Leo asks what I'm working on now. So right now I'm working on the water in this area, in this dark forest area, we call it. I want to be able to walk into the water a little bit, like up to the player's knees. And then they can just splash around a little in there. I'm just creating the markup for that. So I've saved that. And now I'm going to turn off the dark forest in the main scene, and I'm going to pop into game and enter the dark forest and see if we can actually walk into the water yet. I have the audio up, make sure I hear the splashy noises. Go. Okay, so far so good. So it is making the splashing. The only thing is, it looks like my player is not actually being submerged into the water, which I think is because I just forgot to put the dark forest water on a trigger instead of just a solid mesh. Go. So I'm just gonna say trigger. I'm pretty sure that's all it is. There we go. So now I can walk into the water. Now the collision is going to be what stops us from being able to do that. But I just want to be able to, so we already have the collision there, so I can't really walk up into the water here. And I guess that's all we really need. So this is kind of interesting, like, oh, I wonder what was it that was being the collider for that? I don't actually know. Huh. Kind of weird. Oh, I know what it was. It was just literally the water. So we need collider for that. But it's going to be weird because... yeah. Once we walk on these boards, I think it might make these little ripples, which might actually be good. That actually might look nice. But we'll check it out. Okay, so it'll just be the collision keeping us out of the water. I don't like the color of those ripples. If I had my druthers, they would be a little bit more green. But it is going to be a nightmare to change the color of them. So I am not going to worry about it. It's just not worth it. Some battles are not worth fighting. All right, Skyward Dev, I really appreciate the follow. Thank you very much. And Nom or Phnom, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. Okay. So that's all great. Let's go to Dark Forest. Forest 2. Perfect. And I just want to grab, oh, this I should do maybe in the prefab. It doesn't really matter where I do it, but anyway. Grab this, make sure that's a trigger, and I'll save that. There's all of these big rocks need collision. It's quite tedious. But really they should have collision, at least the bigger ones, like this one, this one, this one, probably this one, probably this one. I think those should all probably have collision. Add box colliders to them. These ones I think are small enough to where you probably should be able to walk over them. And then I'm just going to go ahead and save that and back up. And then I'm going to go into the collision and just push that collision a little bit into the water. So here we go, edit poly shape. And I guess I just want to push this collision just a touch. Really don't want to let the player go too far into the water because I don't want it to like they shouldn't be able to get like waist deep into the water, but it should also be kind of clear that they can't go in any further. But I'll give them a little bit of play here. be able to go into the water. And then, okay, that's probably there for a reason. I will let them go in this way if they can get around that rock, which I'm not sure if they can. Okay. Okay. And this is fine. I'll let them go in a little bit over here. And just like this much, maybe. Let them go a little bit over here. And I guess a little bit right here as well. Although what is under here? I don't even know. No, probably don't want to let them go there because they might get trapped. So I'll just leave that collision right there. Here's some more water. This is water, right? Yeah. We'll let them go in a little bit here. And what's behind here? Like, is this rock? It's rock. It's, I just know. Oh, there's so much work. I know that if I, you know, I was complaining about this last time, but this people will scream as an invisible wall, right? Because they can go into the water here. They feel like they should be able to walk behind this rock, but they can't. That's the kind of stuff that they'll be annoyed with. Even though there's nothing for them to do back there, still will annoy them. But I'll just let it happen. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. It just doesn't matter. I guess when I think about the review score of Eastshade, it's like 89% positive on Steam. So as many complaints as I've heard about invisible walls, it wasn't I wouldn't say it was like, I would say that there were other complaints probably that were higher priority. So assuming that, you know, how much could the invisible walls really have mattered? Like, assuming that those other complaints that were high priority, the ones that were fixable, what could we have gotten? You could have gone from 89 to like 92 or something. It's like the most common complaint that would turn someone to a no in Eastshade's case was just simply fundamentally what the game was. Like there were some people that were just like, the game is boring. Okay, well, there's nothing there, right? It's just like fundamentally think the game is just not for you, then there's no like hard takeaway as the developer. And you know, some people were, I would say, some people said it's just fetch quests, which in my mind there's no takeaway from that because it's not, they weren't fetch quests, so there's not really anything you can do. Or fetch quest is kind of just a derogatory term that people use for any quest that they don't like, regardless if it's a fetch quest or not. Not too much I can do about that, so probably overthinking the invisible walls a little bit. I think it's just one of those things that is a kind of feedback that is particularly, I feel particularly helpless to because I know what it costs to not have the invisible walls, and I'm pretty sure that most people aren't, even most gamers would not be willing to give up what it would actually cost to not have the invisible walls. And I think sort of the good things about our game, but the games we make, you know, most people wouldn't be willing to give those up if the cost is going to be some invisible walls. So here we go. I've got to move the Viz camera in Dark Forest. Move it over to the area up here in the darker area. Go ahead and collapse all this stuff, environment. And I'll go ahead and turn on the mesh render. There we go. We can see what we're doing now. Loliet, hello. Actually, I'm going to be right back, folks. Sorry about that, everybody. Hey. Chrissy says, players like to try and go where they shouldn't be. If there was no wall, they would still complain. That's true. They would just go out into the nothingness and they'd be like, wow, the world is so boring. There's nothing out here. Loliet says, I made a concert art of Shin Godzilla 5th form because they don't have it in the movie. What is a concert art? Okay. So I'm going to continue on here making this collision. Just kind of skirting around the roots here. Go. Don't want to have it too far from the tree, but the player is going to be clipping through all the roots when they walk. So we just have to make sure it doesn't look too janky. We'll just kind of give a little bump to where those roots are. And we will have to test it out, see how it's going. And hopefully some of this will be covered by all the trees reaching up into the foreground. Like, it's kind of hard to know exactly what the player will be able to see. You can tell just by looking through the camera. So right there, like all this stuff, hopefully some of it will be covered up. Man, oh man, it is just a lot. Collision. We gotta go. Oh my God. Look at that. We might have to come up with a better solution here. We might have to. Let me actually see. Are these prefabbed? That's the first question I have. Are they prefabbed? Wicked tree base. They're not prefabbed. But we do have the wicked tree base here, so we have something to grab onto that we could probably make some kind of collision mesh for. Then that might be better. I think that's going to be faster for us because they all use the same, right? Do they all? Wicked tree base. They all use wicked tree base. They all use the same mesh. So this is actually not, I'm not the brightest here for going as far as I did. There should be a faster way. If we just put collision for the base, then at least we can just do a really rough collision, like this sort of thing. I'll show you. I'll grab the collision mesh, and what I'm thinking is that it's just really rough, and it's kind of collision will just go like this. And it'll give a lot of leeway. And it'll ensure that the player can't get too far into the brush there, but the collision mesh on the actual tree will be what stops them from, because like right here, we wouldn't want to do that because the player could walk right into the tree. So we should just be able to do a really rough collision here. If we have some kind of collision on the tree. This collision will just basically be insurance that even if there's a little gap between two trees, we wouldn't want to leave that, right? Because the player would be able to finagle their way through and potentially get further in than we'd want them to. So I'll leave that like that, and then I'll just make sure to apply prefab here. Apply all. Leo says, will the game be mainly story driven, or will the player have some freedom outside of the quests? Well, the whole game is open world, and I don't know if you played Eastshade, but it'll be a lot like that, where like the whole game is full of side quests. So there is like kind of a main thread, but the whole game is just full of side quests. Everything kind of feels like a side quest in the game. Not actually true. Some of the quests you do have to do, but you can do most of the quests in all kinds of orders. And there's a farming loop as well. There's also some mini games, like the potion brewing mini game. You kind of improve your scores at, and then there's fishing as well. There's this you can go do diving, go around to these little bubbles and look for items and stuff. So there's sort of like collecting and foraging, and there's also the farming loop where you can build your garden using your spells. But the backbone of the game are the quests. The quests are very, it's kind of like Elder Scrolls. Like, Elder Scrolls game is really boring without the quests. I mean, I guess some people like to play it that way, but a game like Elder Scrolls, clearly people are meant to be going around doing the quests. And all the systems in the game serve the quests. And all the quests in the game ask you to use the systems. That's sort of how it works. But it is open world. You're always free to go wherever you can go. It's like it's reverse open. I call it reverse open, which is where everything you've explored, like everything you've opened up, you can go back to, and you will go back to a lot. But then there's impasses in the game that you sort of have to go through the quest chains to unlock. So here we go. Here's the Wicked Tree Base, and I'm going to check out where that Wicked Tree Base is. I don't actually know where it is. I'll make sure to save that Dark Forest terrain. And let's go into Perforce and just try to find the Wicked Tree. Here oh, there's the exported version of the Wicked Tree. Might be in Giant Tree, Giant Mushroom, Giant Tree. I'll go ahead and crack that open. Chrissy's Chilled Gaming says, I love side quests. Favorite game is Skyrim. Rock on. That is my wife Jacqueline's favorite game as well. And it's one of my favorite games as well. Oblivion is my favorite game ever. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim lately and just wandering around completing side quests instead of doing the main quest, saving the world. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the way a lot of people play Elder Scrolls. And it's clear that the production balance of an Elder Scrolls game, it's clear that they anticipate that, right? Because they put a lot of their money. They're not really side quests, in my opinion. And I think that even the term side quests, I think the term is a lot more applicable to something like a JRPG, where there really is like the main quest is most of the content, like 60-70% of the content, and the side quests they're kind of trash a lot of the time. Like they're just template quests. They're meant to be filler. They're meant to kill time. They're usually like simple 3-stage quests, like go find me 5 red pickles or whatever. Whereas opposed to a game like Elder Scrolls, I mean, all of their money goes into the side quests. They're not really side quests. It's actually just the game. It's literally the game. And I really like that style a lot. I don't personally differentiate between side quests versus main quests. A quest is a quest, and all of our quests has to be good. There are no quests that we make that are like, oh, this will be a good filler quest right here. Every single quest should stand on its own. Every single quest should have a good story. Every single quest should have varied verbs where you're doing something unique. And there's no quest that is off limits in terms of production value, like oh, we won't pour too much money into this quest because it's a side quest. Just like every quest should be good. And our main quest reflects that too. Like it doesn't, our main quest doesn't suck up as much of the production value. Chrissy's Chilled Game, he says, I played through old Oblivion as well as remaster. Rock on, rock on. Leo says, I didn't play Eastshade, but we'll check it out. I love doing side quests. Rock on. Yeah, Eastshade is a game where the whole game is, I guess, side quests. They're not actually side quests, but I guess what I'm saying is all the quests are just sort of on an equal playing field, and you can just do whatever you want to do in whatever order you want to do it. Will Witch Academy have an end game or end the story, or is it open-ended? This game will end. It'll end when you want it to, but it won't. You won't be able to just go year after year in Songs of Glimmerwick. Not that kind of game. Okay, let me find that wicked tree base. It's a big game though. It's a lot of content. It's like I said, over 30 hours is what it's looking like right now. Potentially we could be pushing 40. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It won't be crazy. Where's the, oh, there's the wicked tree base. Perfect. Okay. But yeah, it's not like Stardew Valley. Like the end, there is a narrative end, and then there's like you graduate. And just you decide when you want to graduate, but you graduate and then you're done. We'll see what people think of that. Okay, so I'm going to add a cube. Actually, I'll go ahead and maybe, let's go ahead and duplicate that dummy object right now. Duplicate that dummy object. And we'll call this wicked tree base fizz. And I'll just make sure to put it on a different layer. Okay. And we'll set this at 0. So let's go to the numerics. Set that right at 0. Okay. And I'll expand that, and then we'll just start working. We'll start building out the collision for this tree. And now the lovely part about this is we can make the collision quite detailed. Should be good. I might even do like a little ramp. I think actually that would be nice. We did a little ramp for some of these routes. Prefer an ending, or at least an option to end. That's good. Yeah, I prefer games with endings as well. It's so funny how hard it is to tell if your game is good or not. Pre-launch. I would think it would be easier, like just give the game to, 20 people and ask them if it's good. And we've done that. We literally have done that, but you just don't know. You don't know because your pool is biased. When you get 20 beta testers, those are 20 people who really want to play the game, and it's just really hard to tell. And then of course you have your own opinion. Like I personally feel that Glimmerwick is a better game than Eastshade. That's what I'm feeling right now. But it's just so hard to tell like how the public is going to receive your game. It's like the only thing you have is a public release. That is the only time when you will actually get the answer. It's nuts. I think if your game is really has a lot of problems, you probably do know before release. But like whether your game's going to be like an 80% positive or a 90% positive or a 75% positive, it's just so hard to tell. It's crazy. And you can do like focus tests. If you guys know what those are, focus tests is when you hire a company to that has a bunch of people, hopefully that are sort of not, you know, they're not like random. Like they try to pick, you know, a big company will have people who like certain genres, but they're not people who are like already, you know, dying to play your game. So they're a little bit more unbiased. And of course, you're not in direct contact with them. The focus testing company runs the test, and then those people give the feedback to the company. Then the company gives the feedback to you. And so it's a little bit less personal there. So people ideally, you know, the idea is that, you know, they'll be a little bit more honest. But the problem with the focus testers is that since they're not people who specifically are interested in your game, if your game has any sort of, you know, particular sensibilities to it, then they might not like that, but it might just be completely taste, and it's not their cup of tea. So why does their opinion even matter on it? It's so hard. Because, you know, when you release a game to the public, the people who like that kind of game, you know, those are going to be the people who sort of seek it out and eventually play it. So you don't really have to worry about, you don't want to make a game for everyone. That's kind of the risk of focus testing, is that you end up watering down your game a little bit to make it more appetizing for a broader range of people. But that actually might make it more dull to someone who really likes like the kind of game you're making. So of course you don't want to make your game, some concessions have to be made so that your game is, you know, somewhat broadly appealing of balance. Let me catch up with chat. Office says, so the credits roll past graduation and then the game is over. Will we be booted back into the state before graduation, or will... No. So you decide when the credits roll. It's not like a Fallout 3 situation. You know, the game makes it very clear. It's again, it's a lot like Eastshade, actually. The game makes it very clear that, I mean, that there's an end game button that becomes available to you at some point. And there's sort of a main quest, and the main quest will have been concluded. And then you are free to push that button and graduate and sort of see the ending. And yeah, whenever you're ready to call it, whenever you're ready to move on from the game. But other than that, you can keep playing. The seasons don't repeat, but the days, you can keep going through days. We call it like endless spring. $2D, hello, welcome. Becca Tech says, is a focus test something you're interested in doing for this specific game? No, we're not going to focus test it. It's also kind of expensive, so we'll just stick with the beta testers. She's Chilled Gaming says, they're not general public random people who I guess are the best people to test on. So that's kind of the point of the focus testers, to get truly public random people. But again, that's risky, because if you're going to try to, you know, placate to the randos, you might be watering down your game. So it is really hard. Leo says, I have not been following the development super closely, but the fact that I think about it every now and then as a sign is memorable. Well, that's great. I appreciate that. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Sit out from the beginning. Rock on. Hello, Game She Plays. Welcome, welcome. All right. I hope so. I hope it charms people. Big pet peeve when you complete the final challenge and then there's no aftermath setting to wrap up side content. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. No, it won't force you into the ending. Okay, so I'm gonna make this little ramp so the player can kind of walk up on these roots. There we go. We'll remove doubles. Go, perfect. And now I can sort of add some more cuts here to try to make this ramp sort of more closely match. I'll grab these, move this out a little bit more even. I don't want players to just be clipping through the roots and stuff, so I've got to give a little bit here. Oh man, what is going on here? Come on, what is going on? How did this happen? Let me merge this down. Merge this down as well. Merge this down as well. I'll have all those. This is not supposed to be way out here. Got those little roots poking up. Okay, pushing this out. Pushing these verts out. Oh no, what's going on here? This is not good. This is not good. We can't have that. Let's go ahead and merge that vert at the last there. Grab this vert. We got some weird triangulation going on. Move these verts just to sort of cover this route. People will be able to walk through almost certainly. So let me see if I can correct that just by making another cut here. And then raising that collision just a little bit. There we go. Something like that. Hopefully that'll alleviate it just a little bit. Got one right here. Let's add a new cut right here. Okay. Raise that. Just so that the avatar sort of bumps up. We'll see how it is. Okay. Extrude and merge in the center. And then I just want to make sure that this collision goes high enough to make sure that the player is not going to be able to bump over it. And that seems pretty good. So now I'm just going to parent it. Well, I'll make sure first of all it's on the right layer. It is. Very nice. And I'm just going to make sure it's parented to the correct little cube here. We'll go ahead and convert everything to a cone. Make sure it doesn't export. We just want to export our new fizz. So there it is. Oops. Oh, I can't save it because I didn't check it out. I did all that work without saving once. Giant tree. I'm going to head over into Perforce and just make sure to check out our giant tree, Dark Forest collision work. Go ahead and give it a save and then export. Here we go. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if this is going to work because that'll be really nice. So we're in main. I'm going to go ahead and apply all of our changes. I'm going to crack open the prefab. I'm going to head over to our wicked old tree bases. I'm going to grab one of them. And it's not a prefab. Probably should be, but it's not too bad. I'll just copy the name And I'll just search just for that. There we go. And that should be all of them. I'm going to grab all of them and I'm going to add a mesh collider. And we'll put the material, should it even be tricky old? I think it should just be gravel or like, what is it? Rock, dirt? We'll go with dirt. And then we want to use our new wicked tree fizz there. And now all of the wicked trees should have fizz. So let's see what we're looking at. That feels pretty good to me. Just looking at it anyway. We'll see how it plays. So I just want to make sure that set this to smooth. Quartz. Good. Arvix, hello, welcome. Okay. So I'm going to turn off the mesh render. And I'm going to need to put the entry. So there's this dev shortcut entry, and I'll just make sure to use that one, dev shortcut entry. And I'll put the shortcut all the way up by the top here, where we've got our new collision situation going on. And I'll go ahead and check the walls. So here's where I have the really crude stuff. I just want to put the dev shortcut entry right there. And I'll save Dark Forest 2. And I'll back up. And I just want to sort of do a little sanity check. Make sure that this is actually going to work for us. For anyone new to the stream, I'm working on a video game. Making this game with 2 others, including one, my wife Jacqueline, and one other full-time programmer in England. We've been working on the game for 6 years. The game is called Songs of Glimmerwick. It's a Witch Academy RPG where the magic of the world is music. If you want to check out the Steam page for the game, I just linked to it there in the chat if anyone wants to have a peek at that. Okay, so let's check the collision. All right, so just kind of feeling that out. We might let players get a little closer. Yeah, we might let them just get a tiny bit closer than that. At least like in some parts. It feels pretty good though. I'm quite pleased with it. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Great. And I'm liking the roots too. I'm not seeing the character really clip through the roots at all. So I'm really happy with that. I think it's going to work great. Oh, we've got 2 Blender files open. I'm just going to make sure to close this one. We shouldn't need that one anymore. And then for this one, I'm going to make sure to keep an eye on our render mesh. And I'm going to just grab that and just suck it a little bit closer, just like that. I think that's going to work great. I might try to find like some parts that like right there, we could probably go in a little bit. Just kind of between the roots. The spots where the trunk is just a little bit, there's like a little bit more room to move in. Oops, got some really crazy stuff going on down here. Let me just make sure to add these cuts here. I don't want when I add a loop, I don't want it to wrap all the way around. I'm also going to make sure to remove doubles. This definitely should have a cut. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see. Okay, so that vert is triangulating in a really strange way. I want to make sure that the bottom is flat. So I'm going to grab, oh, did that do something nasty? Every once in a while when I do a cut, Looks like all is well. So I'm going to grab the entire bottom and just scale it all down to 0. It's a really neat trick for making sure that everything is flat. So like parts like this, I think could sort of suck up a little bit closer to the tree trunk. Again, there's really no point to letting players get closer to the tree trunk other than I just don't want them to feel like they are bumping into an invisible wall, so they can get 3 inches closer to the tree trunk and it'll feel like not an invisible wall to them. Arvix, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, I really can't wait. I can't wait to finish it. Can't wait to finish it. I can't wait till people are playing it. It's indescribable, the level of anticipation for me is completely off the charts. I just think people are really going to like it. I think we've got a thread on the Steam forums searching for games even remotely like Eastshade. I think that's the title of the thread. Games like Eastshade, even remotely like Eastshade, and people are just, it's like literally 30, 40 pages of just people trying to find games that scratch the itch that Eastshade got for them. Because it really is such a unique game, Eastshade is. And I'm just imagining, hoping that there'll be a thread like that for Glimmerwick, because it is also a special game. Grab the top here and just yeah, this is triangulating in the wrong way. I hate that it does that. But you know what might be a safer bet is just to extrude and then go in there. Okay. This looks a little bit shaky, like their feet might clip through that, so I'm gonna raise that just a little bit. Okay, cool. Export. Now I'm pretty sure that's gonna be even better. And being disappointed. Honestly, the list is kind of disappointing to me too. Just because I feel like it was kind of a, I guess it was a wake-up call to learning as a developer that the things that people like about your game are not necessarily the things that you liked about your game, and the things that people think are special about your game are not necessarily the things that you think are special about your game. And I just was kind of surprised by a lot of the recommendations, especially the recommendations that sort of ignored the liveliness of Eastshade, because that is a very big pillar in Eastshade's design, is the sort of bustle of the world, how many NPCs there are, how lived in the world feels, and how many people you talk to, and just sort of how unlonely the world is. And I just saw so many people recommending these lonely puzzlers. And yeah, they were 3D and they were, you know, high fidelity. Like they had the look, I guess you could say, but they didn't have the tone. And it kind of made me feel like, wow, to some people, Eastshade is almost more like a tech demo. Like they just like walking around the world from strictly a visual perspective. And to me, like I could think of games that I feel are tonally closer to Eastshade, and the feeling of being in the game is closer to Eastshade, yet I didn't really see any of those kinds of games being mentioned. Game She Plays says, I wrote a book once. Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. We don't talk about it. It wasn't my best work. And it was other people's reactions, responses that taught me what my book was actually about, informed everything I wrote after that. That's really interesting. Yeah, for sure. Nimrus says, Eastshade really struck a very sensitive chord in me. I didn't even think it was the gaming experience that made it so peaceful and unique. The whole vibe was so different than anything out there. Can't describe the music and the sky and the NPCs. Oh, I can't. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of contemplative, isn't it? I feel like in terms of that sort of the audio visual experience of Eastshade, I think Elder Scrolls is maybe the closest thing. At least that is my favorite game, and it informed a lot of decisions about the game. As far as the music, I kept pushing Phoenix for more Dorian tracks. And I think that, like, Dorian being the mode that the track is composed in, I think that you end up with a very, very contemplative and adventurous and contemplative sound. JD Lulin, hello, welcome. Hey, Rock On, thanks for dropping by. Oh, let me do Arvix's. Is the game going to have choices or linear story? I wouldn't say the story is linear because you can do the quests in any order. So I would say that the story is almost kind of modular because you can do the quests in any order. There's like character arcs and there's a lot of work that was done to sort of make sure that these different pieces, these different quests and things don't sort of get in the way of each other. But we don't branch very much by choice. I don't really like branching quests or branching stories. I find that I always want to know the best one, and I always want to make sure I go down the best one. So it's also just a lot more expensive. But yeah, the whole like choices matter. That is not part of Glimmerwick, I would say. There's a couple branches, and the quests sort of branch in, I guess, kind of trivial ways sometimes. But for the most part, we try to keep it all on sort of one path and just make the best story that we can. And the sort of dynamicness comes more from the order that you do things and sort of where you encounter things sort of beats to the player's drummer. So I wouldn't really call it linear. Yeah, definitely not linear. Oh, reading Shady Lulin's comment here. I want to thank you for Eastshade. Thank you so much for playing it. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for the kind words. All right. I love that you shared it with your sister and best friend. I really appreciate that. And it's amazing to hear that it's your comfort place. Thank you. Thank you. It means everything to us. It means the world to us. We love it. Game She Plays started playing the lyre harp recently, and it's tuned in a Dorian scale by default. Even just playing random notes has the fantasy quality. So the Dorian is a mode, so there's not any changes. I think there's a variant of Dorian that actually has changes to the scale, like it has like accidentals in it. But Dorian by default is not any different than the major scale. It's just sort of the tonic you're using for your melodies. That's what modes are. Like minor is actually not the key. The minor key doesn't have different notes than the major key. It has the same notes. It's just where your melody starts that gives it the minor sound versus the major sound. It's possible that your lyre, and this is the case for many lyres, is pentatonic, so it doesn't have some of the notes. And I find that also makes a more adventurous sound. It's like could be missing some of the usual notes in the major scale, and that will probably make it sound very adventurous as well. I have a I have a lyre, and it's tuned pentatonic, so I bet yours is too. Harvick says, if you can add a daily routine for the NPCs, I think that would be a big win for the cozy experience you are trying to do. Yeah, we have daily routines, of course. We've got schedules. Not only daily routines, but we've got classes and events, and all the NPCs go to them. There's a lot of bustle. Not all the NPCs have daily routines, but a lot of them do. That definitely contributes to the bustle. Daily routines are really hard, and they have a lot of downstream consequences, so we don't have them for all the NPCs. But especially your peer students, they're totally bustling. Not only do they have daily routines, but their routines change in different seasons and in different sort of stages of the quests and things like that. One I have comes tuned to G Dorian as default, though I have tuned it to other keys since, because sometimes you just need to play Baldur's Gate music, even if it means retuning the whole instrument. I think almost certainly most Baldur's Gate music is also Dorian, but it might be in a different key signature, which, yeah, just means you can't play along to it because the keys are different, but you can still play the Baldur's Gate songs. At least you should be able to in G. It doesn't matter what key they're in. They could be in A or F sharp or whatever. You should still be able to play it. It's kind of like Happy Birthday. You can sing it Happy Birthday. Or I got the wrong. I was singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star there for Happy Birthday. You can sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or you can sing Twinkle 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 Little Star. So I did it half a note higher, but it's still Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It's the same melody. Okay, so let me continue going with the Dark Forest here. I guess the only time that and this is really confusing for music, I feel like. The only time that the actual key signature changes the sound, because like if something's in G or if something's in A, it doesn't change the way the song sounds. It's the same song. It has the same emotional impact and everything. There's no changes in tonality. But the only time it makes a difference is for people with perfect pitch. Apparently they can hear a sort of like even more subtle, deeper tonal difference, but that's like, 1 in 10,000 people or something like that have perfect pitch and can hear the differences between that. Of course, it also makes a difference depending on the instrument you're playing. The instrument might just have different properties based on where you're playing the song. Like, your instrument might have more sustain or something, different parts. Also has an impact on the fingering depending on your instrument. But yeah, the song itself, any song can be played in any key and it will be the same song. Chrissy's Chilled Gaming asks if you played Enderal. I have. I have played Enderal. I really liked it. Thought it was really cool. Very inspiring. Enderal was very inspiring. It was inspiring how much content a mod team could put together. And yeah, it was inspiring how like it was like a whole nother game, right? Really cool. I really loved it. I think I also played the other one. Enderal, the second one or the first one? I can't remember. Nimra says, I also bought a lyre harp as a gift to my friend and learned to play Baldur's Gate theme before I gave it to her. Rock on, rock on. You gotta do it. The story pushes the limits. I don't think I finished it, so yeah, I don't know how it ends. The game she plays says, I have near enough perfect pitch and things become completely different song to me if you move them even a half semitone. That's crazy. Crazy. Everything I've ever composed has been in at least half a dozen keys before I've worked out where it belongs. The vibe is so different in each. That's insane. That's so crazy. That's nuts. Yeah, so that the game she plays, your perfect pitch is what confuses like millions of people about music, because people hear something like that and they think, oh, the different keys have different sounds. And they don't. The different keys don't have different sounds to 99.9% of the population. Different modes have different sounds. The different modes are what actually change the sound of your melody. But the different keys don't matter. Like I said, twinkle, twinkle, little star, or twinkle, 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 little star, just a half tone up. It doesn't, still twinkle, twinkle, little star. But yeah, people get confused about it. But I would think that the decision of what key to put your song in, I would think the most important thing would be the instrument you're playing it on, or the accompaniment, the instruments that are playing your song, to make sure that those instruments, like let's say you have a guitar part in your song, you want to make sure that the fingering works on guitar, probably in standard tuning or whatever. Because obviously some songs become incredibly impossible to play if you move them up even a half step, because it changes, where you can play an open string. And that's the case with every instrument is going to have its, difficulties. Of course, wind instruments, they have sort of smaller ranges you have to worry about. So you have to make sure that the melody sort of fits in the range, and then different instruments have different timbres based on sort of where you're where they're actually playing the melody. But that's crazy that you actually feel like the song itself feels different. It's the magic of perfect. It's like a whole different world you guys have, you perfect pitch people. Enderal is the second. Gotcha. Yeah, I think I might have played the first one. Hello, True Haddock. Even without perfect pitch, you should be able to feel, not ear maybe, the difference. The simple fact the key changes affects the hertz frequency, makes vibration resonate to anyone differently. As a composer, I often think about what tonality feels like for a certain tune. 50K Cal, thank you very much for the follow. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's kind of like what I was saying with depending on the instrument. Like some instruments just sound better. Like if you're playing, let's say on a guitar, if you write the melody so that it uses more open strings, then you're gonna have like a lot more sustain and a fullness, because the open string on a guitar just has more sustain and tends to sound really nice. Ooh, dang it! Let me see if I can fix that. Backspace that. Okay, go. But it shouldn't matter. Like if you have an instrument that doesn't, like let's say a piano. If you're playing a melody or a song on a piano and then you play the exact same song a half step up, I think it's personally, I think it's woo-woo to say that was going to actually sound different to most people. Of course, if you've got perfect pitch like Game She plays, then maybe there's a whole world I don't know about, but I don't think that anyone is going to hear the difference if you're playing a song in A versus a song in A sharp on a piano, because a piano doesn't have, it's not subject to those. If it's just a half step higher, you're not going to have any difference in tone or sustain or anything like that, or timbre. That's my opinion anyway. Game She Plays says it's a lot easier to decide if it has lyrics and I'm the one singing it. I'm moving this entire 5-minute song to E flat because one single note is easier to sing. Oh, right, exactly. Like a high note. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, you can rest assured that you're not changing the vibe for anybody else. But yeah, of course, if you're singing, then it makes a huge difference to move the song down. If your song has a high C in it or something, and then you move the song down a whole step, obviously, B5 is way easier to hit than C5. I can't hit either. Roy Boss 9, thank you very much for the follow. I really appreciate that. Shady Lulin says, can I ask about your inspirations for Eastshade's universe? Have you ever been to Malta? No, I've never been to Malta. Let's see, inspirations for Eastshade universe. A lot of, well, from the forests, I would say I was very inspired by just being in forests here in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. I live in Washington State. As far as the architecture, definitely very eclectic, but I looked a lot at Middle Eastern architecture, like from Turkey, and a few other places. Of course, it is fantastical. Like there is some stuff that is, you don't really find any place like it, like the round buildings and stuff. But I was definitely very influenced by the Middle Eastern architecture, particularly in like the sort of patterns and sort of mosaics and tiles, and then also a lot of domed rooftops. I really liked. It gives a really interesting and cool vibe, and of course it's also a sort of break from the more classical European settings that we often see in high fantasy. Wanted it to be a little bit different. I wanted Eastshade to feel like, a little bit fresh. Arvik says, your game art style is absolutely incredible. This is a quote. Honestly, your art style made me look at my own and think, nope, it needs to be a complete overhaul. So I ended up reworking it all from scratch. That's a quote. I see the quotations. What's it a quote from? The game she plays says, the moment I stopped worrying about the vibe, that one guy I trained with who had better pitch than me is guaranteed to listen for ears. But the vibe, I mean, surely you can, like, the vibe, surely the mode is more important even to you, right? The game she plays, like, if you took a song and made it, minor, it's a different song. Like if you play the same melody in terms of degrees, but you moved the tonic to, the 6 instead of the 1, surely that has a much bigger impact, right? I mean, it's just literally a different song. It's a different melody at that point. It doesn't even sound the same. Nimra says, there it is. I saw all the Turkish names he used. Yeah, so then also with the names, and that was just sort of random. I actually didn't think, well, I'm using Turkish architecture, so I should use Turkish names. I actually just looked at thousands of different names, and I just kept liking the Turkish ones. They were just easy for me to say as a Westerner, and they just sounded nice and different to me as a Westerner. So they sort of, for me, if I had called people like John and James and, Victoria and other sort of names that are very familiar to me, it wouldn't really have felt like a faraway place. And I know that's a little bit, it's very provincial based on my own, place in the world. What seems sort of far away to me is obviously based on, me being a Westerner. But I just really liked all the Turkish names, so I had a name generator that just pulled from a massive library of Turkish names, and I just kept liking those, so kept going with those. Katie Lulan says, check out Dingley Cliffs and Medina City in Malta. Let's see. Dingley Cliffs. Oh, I will say that oh yeah, okay, so the big cliff areas are based on the working title for that entire the Teefmore Bluffs. It used to be called Scotland. Literally, the scene in Unity is called Scotland. So that one is obviously very inspired by Scottish cliffs and that whole area. But yeah, I can see these cliffs. Now, I would say that these cliffs are pretty different from the Eastshade ones, just because this has very light rock and all the Eastshade cliffs have dark rock, which to me gives a really different vibe. So it does feel different, but there are like, I can picture like, yeah, here's like, okay, sea arches and stuff. So this feels a lot like that, the cave, the Howling Caverns exit in the Teefmore. I could see that for sure. And then the city, Medina. Oh yeah. Oh, I can see this for sure. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It even has like a lot of the large stones, like this sort of thing, the really large stones. Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, cool. Thanks for pointing those out. I like to know about different places. All right. Nimmer says, if you don't want to call people John, you can call them Can, and they could sound the same. And Game She Plays says, about the same to me. I'm the same with speed. Change it by 2 to 3 BPMs, and it feels totally different. Wow. So the mode is about the same impact as the key. That is crazy. That is crazy. That is so crazy. Yeah. When Bakma says, my ASMR stream is live. Great. Okay. Oh man, the ASMR world has really destroyed, like, a lot of people like to mix for like ASMR, and I can't stand it when people just like scoop the crap out of the audio and just the extra clicky sort of tickly sound. Oh my gosh, can't do it. So I'm sorry, my mix is definitely not optimized for ASMR. Oh man, I keep on accidentally touching Pro Builder in the wrong way, and it creates that crazy creates a new point that drops all the way down to the floor plane. Really messes things up. Game She Plays. Scotland mentioned. Are you from Scotland, Game She Plays? ASMR triggers fight or flight for around 20% of people. Wow, that's nuts. I don't know if it triggers fight or flight, but it definitely doesn't make me feel good. At least when it's mixed in that way, like the super scooped, very trebly sound. Oh, soothing stream. Gotcha. Okay. I'm glad the stream is soothing. Except when I hit a bug, I'm sure. Oops. Gosh, look at that. It just flying into the nether. All right. So now we've got a lot of work to do. Got to keep going. that should be all done. I'm gonna go ahead and apply. And let's have a muck about and just try to walk into all the walls and see where we're at with this. Be really happy if I can get this done. From the west of Scotland, the part that looks exactly like the Pacific Northwest. No, don't say that. That's not true. Not comparable. I know because I've been to the west of Scotland. Your nature is like so much better than our nature. It's not even funny. But I appreciate that you put us in the same category. But no, can't hold a candle up to Scotland. My game is set on a very rainy island just off the west coast of Scotland. Rock on. Hey, kind of like Dear Esther. Pretty sure. All right, so walking up into all these. Oh, look at that. Oh, we got to do something about that. Hey, and get all the way back here. That's not good. Yeah, we got to fill this with trees. I don't know how that happens. Definitely got to fill that with trees. Okay, this is all perfect. Perfect. I can't even see where I am. I'm like completely stuck. Oh, and now I'm stuck on this wall. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but I think it's gonna work. I think that that's pretty good. It seems like maybe I'd want to move that wall a little bit closer because I don't really think I should be able to get this deep into the side here. But I really love how I'm not clipping through any of the roots. It feels really good, honestly. Surprising. I'm really pleased with that, really happy with that. And look at this area. Oh yeah, that's really cool. Dark in here. Let's see if I have a lamp. Lantern. Oh. This all needs way more trees. Needs a lot of work, honestly. I've got to have way more trees and shrubs and things to make it feel a lot denser because it has big empty areas behind there. Scotland is lovely, but the bugs, oh, hate me. Oh, yeah. Game she plays the same coast, but I went lower down near my home region because I wanted to write it in my particular dialect of the Scots language. Oh, cool. Very cool. So the game is in Scots. And are you going to translate it to English as well? Also, does it have like a Steam page or anything up? Or is it still too early? Can I have a peek? Can you show it to me? No, that wasn't a joke, Bakba. Scots is a different language, right? Isn't it? Yeah, West Germanic language descended from Middle English. How many people speak Scots? Okay, a lot of Scottish people speak Scots. So around 1.5 million, about 30% of the population. So probably not too many people would be buying that game to play it in Scots anyway. But it's also could just be really cool that it is in Scots. People just might really appreciate that, and of course it'll be more personal. Maybe it'll be one of the only games in Scots. Oh, nearly 50% understand it. Okay, so 30% speak it. Same difference as, say, Swedish and Danish. Okay, yeah. The Swedes can definitely understand Danish people, but definitely a lot of differences there. So yeah, I wonder if as an English speaker, I wonder if even people not speaking Scots would get most of it. No, no. When I was in the UK, I actually found Scottish people easier to understand than some people in London. Even some people with really sort of urban London accents, that was harder. Oh, okay, mixture of Scots and English. There'll be English captions. Cool. Because I told some important people who can spread the word about a specific date in a few weeks' time. All right, Steam page will be coming out soon. Cool, exciting stuff. Really exciting game she plays. What discipline are you? Are you a programmer? Are you an artist? And are you an indie developer, or are you sort of part of a bigger team? I speak Swedish and can understand Danish to the same level. Wow. English speakers should be fine with Scots. Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. I learned Danish and I can't understand either Swedish or Danish. Okay, well, I guess if you learn Danish and can't understand Danish. Okay. Right, so let me open up Dark Forest 2. Chrissy's Chilled Gaming says, I'm Northwest England. Some Scots is too fast, but mostly fine. Gotcha, gotcha. Lulin said, it's my 4th language and I'm learning by myself. That's really great. I only speak 1 language. Came into game dev as a writer, became an environment artist. Hey, hooray! Cheers. Using Adventure Creator again. That's I think the Unity asset, Unity plugin. Used it on small projects with some other tools for gameplay. It's very story based, so I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Fellow adventure game creator. Love it, love it. All right, so just need to create collision. Going over all these bushes here. Gotta go all the way around here. We got so much work to do, but it'll feel so great to have it done. Oops. Get rid of this. And I love how chill the work is. It makes it very easy to stream. This is just a really great time for streaming, apparently, because I don't normally get 50 concurrent viewers. That's 50 between both platforms. Check. Oh, let me see. I think I missed a follow a while ago. A Royboss9. I don't know if I thanked you if you're still around, but thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate that. And Dramiris or Dramiris, Really appreciate the follow. Thank you. Thank you. Jenny Lulan says, so right now, you are delineating the areas the character can go to. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we call these are collision walls. And these are just, see, it's like the see-through mesh right here. And these are just all the places that the player cannot walk through. So sort of stopping the player at the border here. So they shouldn't be able to walk through the dense forest. Just rounding around this, the bottom of this tree here. And there's so many gaps we really need to fill. We need a huge detail pass on the dark forest, but broad strokes, got to work in broad strokes. We can worry about that later. Right now, we just got to get everything working. We got to make sure that people can't just walk off into the nothingness. It's very easy for us to test the game without collision because we know where you're supposed to walk and where you aren't. But I have found now with the testing, it's actually hard with the beta testers because they don't know. First of all, many players are very curious and they will try to push into the fray all the time. They're always testing the collision, and they get themselves into trouble because they're getting into places that is breaking the game and getting themselves stuck stuff. So we're at the stage now where we need to have some kind of collision. At least for these walls and things. It'll feel good. It always feels, it does. It is kind of fun when you get to the collision stage. The game feels a little bit more polished. I'm gonna make sure to put the collision behind this tree because this tree actually has its own collision and I don't want this collision to go over the top of that tree because that tree's collision is used as for interaction. You're just expanding it out. Go ahead and make sure to every once in a while click off this thing and apply the changes. I'm pretty sure that actually writes the data to the prefab. Shady Lilin says, indeed they will try. It's me. I am they. Yeah. Carol, hello. Is this wall collider thingy your own made tool? No, I'm using ProBuilder, which ProBuilder ships with Unity now. It comes built in, and it's called a polyshape. And I do use it. I will say though, I mean, it works. It gets the job done, and I'm using it, so I guess it's the best thing that I got for the job right now. But it is so finicky. It has so many problems. The way that it works. It might just be the way that our world is set up, but it seems like every time, every once in a while, I click and it drops the vert. It drops it 500 meters down into oblivion. That just happens all the damn time, and I'm not exactly sure what makes that happen, but it's very finicky and very annoying. But anyway, I mean, I can't knock it. I don't want to sound too complainy about it because I'm using it, so. Second, folks. All right. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm not. All right, cool. One Bakma asks, is it the toddler sleeping? He is up. Our nanny is currently caring for him. Harold says, good info, use some other collision wall from Asset Store, but gives me a bunch of problems. Yeah, I mean, ProBuilder is included with Unity now, so it must have some level of stability, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be in there. Enough people use it, and it seems to do the job. So now that I sort of know how, I know a lot of its little weird finickiness, so seems to get the job done. So just checking out this collision wall. So we have a little bit of tolerance here. I turn on the render mesh so that I can see exactly where we've put the collision. And that seems to be okay. Okay. All right, now, do I let players go down here? No, I don't think I should. I think I should fill that in with collision. I'll try to block this area off. So now I just need to go around the water line here because the players can get over here. Don't want to let them get too deep. That's an invisible wall right there. I definitely need to prescribe that with something. Bakwa says, sorry, missed the answer about the question of, is this collision wall your own tool? No, it's ProBuilder. It's just this poly shape thing right here, this component I've got my mouse on. It is kind of the perfect tool for walling off like this, with the exception of I just always feel the need to complain about it because it does have some weird finickiness. It is constantly, like if I add a new, see, check that out. You see when it turns red like that? Now look, check this out. Look, where did it go down there? Why did it go all the way down there? I don't really understand what floor plane it thinks it's going down to, but that happens all the time. So I just need to be very careful to like click once and then get my hand off it and then place the point after that, which is kind of just weird behavior. I don't really understand what is going on or why it works like that. I don't understand why clicking and dragging at the same time to create a new one wants to drop it down into Oblivion. I wish there was a little setting right here that you could check that would just like constrain all the points to the origin of the object itself. Would be really helpful. So that, you know, because when you're doing, there's a lot of use cases in video games where you're making a collision that just simply does not have any sort of Y movement to it. It's all supposed to just be like effectively a 2D shape. Where's my, oh, I don't need my player. I need my viz. I need my camera viz here. So let's move that right here. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Where can I, so I guess, yeah, right there. We can let the collision wall right there. How's that looking? We probably will need to let players go a little further there. How's that? I'm just checking out there. The players won't be able to go any lower than that. Let's just maybe round that out. Let's see. There, I think that's good because players can't actually see they can't see what's behind there. So I think that that's a great place to stop the collision. Wow, it's already almost 9 for me, so I should probably call it because I've got to be in bed soon. So yeah, let's see. What is the uptime here? How long I've been streaming is 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's pretty good. We got some collision done, which is great. turn this off real quick. I'll turn off the mesh render and let's apply this. JD Luland says, would you say learning 3D environment is the best starting place to get into making games? Yeah, I would say that. If you want to work in AAA, well, and indie, really, I mean, you need more environment artists than any other kind of artist. Like at Sucker Punch, the last big studio I worked for, I think we had like 4 or 5 character artists in the whole company. It's a company with over 100 people. 200 people? I don't remember exactly what our head count was. But the environment team was like 45 people. And that was the biggest department in the entire company. So you just need way more environment artists than anything else because there's just it's simply the most work to be done. Then again, you know, I think that you should do what you want to do too. But if you love environments, like I love making games. I love it way more than anything else. Like I literally, if I had to be a character artist, if the only way I could work in video games was to be a character artist, I would literally not be in video games. I just have no interest in that whatsoever. I love making game environments. So for me, it was perfect. Just so happens that there's the most jobs for it as well. I really like it. It's a bit more technical than some of the other kinds of art. Yeah, it's a bit more technical. The workflows are a bit weirder and they tend to change a little bit more often and there's a lot more tricks to it, but yeah. Yeah, I think that that's probably the easiest, maybe the most hired job in the games industry. Can't think of any that need a higher count than that. Yeah, probably not even programmers. Yeah, I think it's a really good one to pursue if it's your jam and you like it. All right, folks, I'm going to call it a stream. I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me. If you're new to the stream, please check out our game, Songs of Glimmerwick, which is a Witch Academy RPG where the magic of the world is music. Hey, Warka 101. Good to see you. Didn't know you were lurking around. Warka 101 is a fellow streamer. Also has a great channel. Most impactful part of the art pipeline. Hey, I mean, I would have to agree, but I mean, I'm also an environment artist, so it's, you know, a little bit biased. But yeah, I do think that the big read of the game, you know, when people just look at a screenshot of the game, the first thing that smacks you in the face is the environments. It's most of the game, right? It's like 90% of the stuff that you see. So yeah, I think it's very impactful. I'll catch up with chat before I head out here. Taken me a week to get one character good for this trailer, and I'm not done. Number one wish for my game, make enough money to get a character artist for the next game. Rock on. Yeah, characters, they take a long time, and the standards are high, especially if you're doing humanoid characters. You know, humans are really, they're very picky about, they really know what humans look like. Of course, if you're doing stylized humans, you have a little bit more tolerance there, but it's hard stuff. One Bakpa says, when you think about an environment of a particular game, are there any things that inspire you? What do you do to inspire yourself? I'm very inspired by the real world. I really like looking at beautiful places, you know, beautiful buildings. I'm really inspired by architecture a lot. So, but also, you know, nature. I really like looking at the real world. That inspires me a lot. The game that made me want to be an environment artist is Half-Life 2, which is kind of funny because that's not the kind of environment art that I really am interested in nowadays. It's kind of a lot more urban, but it's also a lot more European looking, which you know, if you're going to do an urban environment, then European cities to me are just kind of objectively better than American cities. So, you know, there's more old kinds of architecture, which I like a lot more. I just got here. Well, thank you for dropping by anyway. Unfortunately, I'm about to roll out, but it's good to see you. Carol says, environment stuff, my fave too. Rock on, rock on. Many years ago, I enjoyed reading your tech blog about E-Shade environment. Hey, thank you for reading that. Thank you, thank you. Environment and sound design hit me the most. Yeah, for sure. And I love sound too because it's so fast. I don't know if you feel this way, Warka, but it takes me like a month to like block in an environment from like a 3D standpoint, meshes and textures. And in a day, I can make, you know, the soundscape for the environment, which is just really fun to, it adds, you know, for the amount that it adds, the time that it takes to add it is relatively small. It's like it makes like a huge impact on the overall vibe, but it only takes a day. I love that. Also make horror. Yeah, that's definitely very environment forward, very sound forward. Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, thanks everyone so much for stopping by, and I hope I'll see some of y'all next time. See ya.